Shields up, Paladins, and welcome to an Overwatch Hero Guide. As you can tell by the title of this video, I will be talking to you all about Reaper and how I like to use this particular character. Reaper is one of the many damage roll characters within Overwatch, as well as he has a base stat of 250 health. With all this being said, let's go ahead and jump right on over to his abilities. The first ability that I'm going to talk about is his passive ability, which is called the Reaping. With this passive ability, you get 40% of hero damage dealt. Now this counts all damage from Reaper, even from quick melee or environmental kills. This does not give an ultimate charge. With Reaper, he's pretty much one of those characters that you want to be right up in their face to do as much damage as you possibly can, to get that 40% of hero damage dealt back to you in health, which is great. Reaper can stay up for quite a bit with that particular passive ability. With his actual weapon, which is called the Hellfire Shotgun, type of course is the shotgun, which is a hit scan. Damage is 2.1 to 7 per pellet, or 42 to 140 per shot. Fall off range is 10 to 20 meters. Spread angle is a constant 20.1 degrees. The number of pellets is 20 per shot. Rate of fire is 2 shots per second. You have 8 ammo capacity. The reload time is 1.5 seconds, and you can get headshots with this weapon. His next ability that he has is called Wraith Form. This ability increases his movement speed by 50%. The duration is 3 seconds, and the cooldown is 8 seconds. Reaper is cleansed of the status effects and becomes immune to enemy damage and abilities. Automatically reloads his Hellfire shotguns to full ammo. Can be cancelled early, as also he can also use his Wraith Form to take health packs. And then finally, his last ability that he has before we get to his ultimate is the Shadow Step. Max range is 35 meters. Casting time is 1.5 seconds. Duration is 2 seconds. Cooldown is 10 seconds. This can be used while Reaper is in the air, and Reaper is invulnerable while exiting his Shadow Step. A lot of times you want to use that Shadow Step to get behind the enemy lines, or try to get behind the enemy, specifically if you do have your ultimate ability. Like I said, Reaper is one of those powerhouse characters. So then finally, before we get too far into this, his final ability, which is his ultimate, is called a Death Blossom. Type is a hit scan. Damage is 170 per second, 510 in total. Movement speed is negative 50%. Area of effect is an 8 meter radius. Duration is 3 seconds. You cannot get headshots with this ultimate, as well as his ultimate cost is 2,100. The Reaper passively generates 1% ult charge every 4.20 seconds. He automatically reloads the Hellfire shotgun to full ammo and deals 155 damage per second against armor. So with all that being said and done, that's all of his abilities, and that's everything that he can do. Now Reaper, as I said, is a very, very strong character, but he is a short-range flanker, and one of the deadliest heroes in the game up close. Even with tanks, like for example Reinhardt and Roadhog, pretty much you're going to melt them under the power of his shotguns that he has. Wraith Form is one of the greatest invulnerability tools in the game. Reaper can use it to escape or chase his enemies thanks to his increased speed and the immediate reload that ability gives him. Shadow Step is another flanking ability. It provides enough time to set it up, so he can use it to move to any location within his line of sight. When the main fight begins, Death Blossom can be turned can be the turn of the tide of the battle while using the middle of the fight. So, it's a high constant damage. It can tear most heroes to shreds, even if they are not prepared. Reaper's relative simplicity makes him a good hero for new players, while still remaining deadly in experienced hands. So that's a lot of great things about Reaper. He's a very simple character to use. I do agree. One of the things is that he's what I like to consider a tank buster. As I said earlier with Reinhardt and Roadhog, he's one of the characters that wants to focus the tanks first rather than, let's say, the healers. Let your other DPS or your other healers, for that matter, focus them. If you have a Moira or a Baptiste or even a Brigitte, for that matter, let them focus the other healers while you're specifically going after the tanks. Now, Reaper does lack in combat mobility, as his Wraith form is mainly used to save his life or escape from a near-death situation, and Shadow Step is a very, very loud and makes Reaper unable to move for a while. So he becomes a very easy prey if he is spotted. Reaper works best in close combat and is nearly useless in fighting mid to long range due to the lack of damage and fall off that his shotguns have, with on top of that the large spread that it has. Death Blossom is easy to shut down by stunning Reaper or blocking it with either with a friendly barrier or with Brigitte stunning him, or even with McCree's flashbang. Reaper is also the most effective in team composition or a map that keeps fights in close quarters. One of those maps being King's Row, Temple of Anubis, just to name a couple. Anything that's real close quarters for Reaper, that's where you want to be with him. And as I said earlier, he is one of those characters that you want to focus tanks with. He is a tank buster, in my personal opinion. Focus those tanks, get them out of there as quick as you can. And besides, on top of that, Reaper can go to toe-to-toe with almost every tank out there because of that 40% passive ability that he's getting from healing. So on top of that, you're really healing yourself on top of engaging with these tanks. One tank in particular that you might have a little issue with would either be D.Va or Sigma. Sigma, just because his orbs that he has hurt pretty bad, and that might outdamage Reaper. Also with D.Va, since she has that mech that she's in. So with the mech, she can kind of absorb some of that damage to kind of slow you down on your passive ability, and she might get ahead on you that way. Just because she also does not have to reload. That's the other thing with her that you have to worry about. But hopefully, I've answered a lot of questions, comments, concerns for people out there that are wanting to use Reaper and wanting to learn Reaper. He is a very, very, very good character. As I said, he's very simple to use for people that are just now beginning, as well as for people that have been playing Overwatch since day one. He is a very deadly character in the right hands. So with all that being said, hopefully I helped you all out, and I'll see you all in the next video.